Alright guys, BLM here, time for another video. But yeah, this is going to be my review of the Mutiny, which are episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Season 2. And this episode actually uses almost no Sentai footage, which is kind of surprising. The only Sentai footage it uses is when introducing the Thunder Megazord and the Megazord battle at the end, where it clips up Die Ranger footage. Everything else is either American-made or G2 footage. So yeah, part 1 starts off with the Rangers having an ATV race to raise money. It's a stupid idea, but whatever. Which I found this ATV race really weird because, oh my god, this thing takes place during all 3 parts. And you would think that, I mean, it would be, what, like 3-4 hours? How long is this fucking race? They're on ATVs, it's not like they're running or anything, so it shouldn't take that long to finish a fucking race. Yet, at the end of part 3, they're still racing and shit, and they finish. I never understood why this ATV race lasts so long. They then go to Rita's palace, which she's overtaken by Lord Zed, who in this episode is a new villain. And he was awesome. I mean, in this episode, Zed just was so badass. He had those freaking tube things that actually worked in the first few episodes. They stopped using them later, probably because of issues with the suit or something. I don't really know. It was never really explained, but whatever. I think Robert Axelrod does an absolutely phenomenal performance as Zed. He was already on Power Rangers during the first season. He played Finster. And he did some other voices and stuff. But I mean, his performance as Zed is just absolutely phenomenal. When Zed arrives, he transforms the palace into his own creation and shit. He sends Rita away in a dumpster. He gives Goldar his wings back, which is a very strange scene because he's seen using his wings in the first season. Which means that Rita must have taken his wings away sometime later in the season, but it's never actually shown. So I find this very strange that they decided to add this part to the episode. I absolutely love that Goldar starts mocking Rita right when Zed arrives. Like, right when he hears that Zed's about to come, he's like, "Fuck you, Rita," and completely turns on her, like, right away. It's mainly because he was so mistreated by Rita, but I just find it awesome that he just mocks her the entire time that she's there. But then Zed traps Rita into the space dumpster again and sends her into space. This is a scene I really can't stand. As I mentioned with my White Light review, I don't like that they use Rita's doll as her miniature size. I mean, it is better here than it is in White Light, because at least she didn't change back and forth from being a human to having the doll, but it's just so awkward to have, because you can clearly tell it's the fucking doll. And also in this episode, the doll doesn't move at all, I don't believe. It might have, I just didn't pay attention, but whatever, like, it's just so strange. Something else I noticed is that they never showed Rita's face before she got turned into the doll, except for in the one scene where they did a close-up of her face, which was from Jew Ranger footage. But the reason why they never showed her face is because it was a different actress playing her. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was the one that later played her after the wedding episode, or if it was just some random actress they just brought in. But then after that, Zordon calls on the Rangers and tells them what's happening, that Zed has come to Earth and stuff. And I love how Tommy just asks like the dumbest question, like, "Can we beat Zed?" And then Zordon freaking replies with "No, you can't." I just like love that scene. It's pretty much Zordon just telling him, "You're not strong enough, you suck." They go back to Zed and he reveals his new putties, the Z putties, the ones that have like vests on, that have a Z in the center. And he sends them to Earth, where they attack Vulcan's skull. However, the Rangers save them. And what I find awesome about this scene is that it's American footage. Because in Season 1, a lot of the fight footage was not American footage. I don't believe there actually was any. So I believe this is actually the first American shot Power Ranger battle. What's so strange is that they made out the putties to be so strong, like easily defeating the Rangers, when it's, I mean, they're freaking putties. Like, no matter how charged up they are, they're not going to be that strong. And, like, just a few episodes later, they're, like, easily defeating them. It just makes no sense. However, they eventually find out that if you hit them in the center with the Z emblem, that they'll explode, which, this is retarded as well. It seems very inconsistent with how this works. Like, each putty has, like, a random amount of hits it can take. Like, some can only take 1 punch on the Z, others can take, like, 1 billion freaking punches. Like, it just makes no sense. Then they go back to the command center after defeating the putties, and for, I believe, the first time, the Rangers are without their helmets, still in their suits. This is also another awesome scene because this makes it feel more realistic that the Rangers are actually in the suits, which obviously they aren't. It's obviously suit actors almost all the time, but it's awesome to see this scene, which makes it somewhat believable that they're actually in the suits. After that, Lord Zed creates a new monster called Piranha's Head, which, I don't know, he's a decent monster, I guess. But the Rangers go to confront him when he's in the city. Something else I want to mention is that this episode is the episode that coined the term back to action, mainly because this is the first episode where they're in their suits without their helmets, which is the only time they use the words back to action, when they're still in their suits but without their helmets. So it's kind of cool that this episode started that phrase. And after that, the Rangers call in their Dinozords, but all but Tyrannosaurus get frozen. And that's the end of part 1. No offense to people that like the Mutiny 3-part, but part 2 has to be one of the worst Power Ranger episodes I've ever watched. Now, I respect the episode because of what it was trying to do and what it actually does, but it's just not a good episode. The episode starts off with the Tyrannosaurus, which was not hit by the freeze ray that Piranha's Head shot. Piranha's Head takes control of it. And after that, Tommy joins the Rangers and summons Dragonzord to attack Tyrannosaurus. But Dragonzord weirdly loses. Now, this is something I didn't understand either, because Dragonzord is supposed to be much stronger than the dinosaurs. It was even defeating the Megazord earlier in the series. So, how does it make sense that now Tyrannosaurus, just the Tyrannosaurus Dinozord, is defeating the Dragonzord? It makes no sense. And then Piranha's Head takes control of that Zord too. This is really one of the worst scenes in the entire series. This is one of the things that makes this episode terrible, is the fact that they're pretty much just reusing the same footage over and over again. They're using the same footage of Tommy using his flute, the flute to call the Dragonzord. They're using the same footage. They're using the same footage of the Rangers on the ground with all the rubble in the background. It's so stupid that they use the exact same footage over and over and over again. Like, even though we just saw the footage like 2 minutes ago. It just makes no sense. It just blows my mind that they really didn't care that much. And also, same thing with Piranha's Head. Since Piranha's Head was only taken from one episode of Ju2 footage, and they spread it out throughout 3 episodes of Power Rangers, they kept on using the same Piranha's Head footage over and over again, where Piranha's Head is standing on the top of the building. They use this footage over and over and over the fuck again. It just pisses me the fuck off to watch this episode. The Rangers then retreat and go back to the command center, where Zordon and Alpha tell them about the Thunder Zords. New Zords that they will have, but they need to get control of the other Zords first. Now, the introduction of the Thunder Zords is actually pretty awesome, to be honest. But the thing that ruins this scene is how drawn out it is. Especially the fact that when they're walking outside to go see the Zords and stuff, they made it go in slow motion. The main reason is because they needed to fill time. This episode was such a waste. This episode and the 3rd part should have been mixed together to make just one other episode. Should have just been a 2-parter, not a 3-parter. I don't understand why it was a 3-parter. It just makes no sense in my mind. So after this, Billy and Trini go out to create a machine that would be able to get the Zords back in their control, while the others fight off putties and stuff like that. And that's pretty much the rest of the episode. What a waste of a fucking episode. Really, just a piece of shit episode, if you ask me. Really, absolutely nothing happened with the exception of the introduction to the Zords. This could have easily been much shorter and into just one episode mixed with part 3. Okay, finally I'm going to talk about part 3. So Billy and Trini finally complete the device that they're making to get the Zords back. And originally it doesn't work. So the other Rangers use the Power Blaster and try to attack Piranha's Head. But then Billy finally realizes they put the frickin' battery upside down. I'm just not going to say anything. Just fuck it. Right when the Rangers get their Zords back, Lord Zed attacks them and sends them to the Earth's surface. And then after that, Tommy sends the Dragonzord back into the ocean so Zed can't do it to the Dragonzord. This was just taken from Doomsday. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Alpha is then able to recover the Zords and transform them into the Thunder Zords. After this, we get the roll call from Green with Evil. And they play this in every single episode of Season 2. This is their Megazord calling sequence. They just use the roll call from Green with Evil. I don't understand it. I really think this is the most retarded idea. Especially the fact that they show this in every single fucking episode. There was really no need for this. And it just blows my mind. Especially it doesn't even match with the freaking motions that they're making. It makes no sense. Why wouldn't they just Why wouldn't they just spend like the extra, 30 minutes to shoot other footage that would make more sense? I don't understand. I really just don't understand this shit. They call them on the Zords that are finally finished and they make the Thunder Megazord. Something I never understood about this either is why the Red Dragon Zord never had a cockpit. It wouldn't have been that difficult. They could have just used the same cockpit as they did with the Thunder Megazord, just with just Jason. It wouldn't have been that difficult, so I don't know why they didn't do this. It just makes it really awkward where the Red Dragon Zord's just standing there, just doing absolutely nothing. And when they make the Megazord, they call it the Mega Thunder Zord. This is a mistake that's made for quite a while, because at the time they didn't know what they wanted to name the Zords. They didn't know if they wanted them all to be Megazords, or they wanted to be Mega Thunder Zords. So they called them Mega Thunder Zords, but they ended up changing it to Thunder Megazord. With a mix of Ju-2 and Die Ranger footage that they switch back and forth with, the Rangers are finally able to defeat Prontus Head. Lord Zed is pissed off, but when isn't he pissed off? And Zordon tells Tommy that he cannot use the Dragon Zord anymore, which is mainly because of the lack of footage, but whatever, I'm just going to let it go by, whatever. Finally, the episode ends with the Rangers finishing the race. Alright, time to just talk about random stuff that I just forgot to mention earlier. When Prontus Head was freezing the Zords, it just looks retarded. They pretty much just use a filter on the Zords. And what's even more stupid is Pterodactyl. When they freeze Pterodactyl, it's still in the fucking air. Wouldn't you think that it would, go down or something? No? It just stays in the air? Okay, fuck it. Something else that I didn't mention is that the Lion Zord is actually green. This is because in Die Ranger, there was no Black Ranger. It was a Green Ranger, so they ended up switching them out, whatever. There's one scene where, when they're fighting the Prontus Head in the Megazord, the Thunder Megazord, where Jason says, "Let's can this fish." I always thought it said, "Let's can this bitch." I always thought they were cursing there, and it was just some mistake or something, but he was actually saying fish. Something that disturbs me about this episode is that the Rangers actually never fight Prontus Head. They never actually fight him in their Ranger suits and stuff like that in a one-on-one battle or anything. It's mainly because of the Ju-2 footage and stuff, but I just found it kind of weird. Part 1, I think, is actually a really great episode. It introduces Lord Zed. Which is one of my favorite villains of all time. He's just awesome. Even after the wedding, a lot of people didn't like him after that when he became pretty much a joke. However, I still enjoyed him after that as well. So I think he's a great character, and it's really cool to see something new after 60 episodes of fucking Rita. While I don't necessarily like the ATV parts and stuff, the episode is actually really good. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Another thing I didn't like about was Rita and them using a doll for a small version, but whatever. 9 out of 10. Good episode. Great episode, actually. But part 2 is a piece of shit episode. I hate it. Absolutely hate it when people say that the Mutiny is one of the greatest episodes of all time. And you see Power Ranger episode lists where, the Mutiny is, number 1, number 2. It just pisses me off because it's really a piece of shit episode after part 1. But part 2, I guess a 3. I think this is the lowest score I've given to an episode so far, but that's because I haven't really reviewed that many shitty episodes yet. It would be a 1 if they didn't introduce the Thunder Zords. I mean, that was the only redeeming part of this fucking episode. Everything else was a fucking piece of shit, but fuck it. In part 3, it's better. It's a lot better than part 2. I mean, it's not a great episode by any means. It's an alright episode. It's the debut of the Thunder Zords, even though it's just sliced up footage and stuff like that. I would say a 6. It's okay. It's just whatever. Overall, the 3 episodes as a whole, I'll give it a 7. I think it's okay. I mean, just the second part just ruins it all for me. I mean, it would be much higher if it wasn't for that second part. I mean, the third part I think is forgivable. It's a good episode. It has its issues, but I mean, it's okay. But the fucking second part, holy shit, is that piece of shit. Whatever. So yeah, that's my review of the Mutiny. Stay tuned for my next video, whatever it is. Thanks for watching.